Morning, everybody. So I'm doing this segment more for myself, frankly, than anyone else. I want to use this moment as a reminder for myself, because right now I am the most miserable I have been in a long time, since I can remember almost. So it started off with doing too many miles yesterday, almost 19, 18.6 or 7 or something like that, which left me actually in a lot less pain than the last time I did too many miles. So that's good. Physically, I'm building things up. But it meant I got in late. But the weather had rolled in. The weather we had been told about was going to happen all day happened in the late evening. And it certainly wasn't the worst it could be. While it was rainy and windy, it actually was the front of a warm front, not a cold front. So today is supposed to be, they said, high of like 48. So that is a huge blessing, because there's absolutely nothing worse than rain followed by freezing temperatures. Give me the snow, no problem. Okay, so that put me behind the 8 ball. And in my continuing saga with the one element that seems to just be my greatest irritant, it's water. I don't dislike the gravity-fed system I went to after the absolute failure of the Smart Water Bottle and Sawyer Squeeze system. But it's slow. My Camelback has no attachment point at the top. Well, it has one that could be used for a string or something, which actually has given me a good idea going from couch to trails idea about the bag hanger for your pack is to have bag hangers for both my dirty reserve and for my clean bladder, which I'm going to do this evening. That way I can just hang it off a tree and actually get the gravity-fed system to operate without me wet nursing it, which is what's happening. So it takes so long for me to squeeze and wet nurse that system that to me seems like wasted time. Always until the morning comes, at which point I'm trying to more efficiently get my act together, still have breakfast because I need that breakfast, warm breakfast, and strike camp and all that sort of thing. And now with this morning, everything's soaked. Unfortunately, and I think this is what really kicked me into my mental state, is for some reason the bottom of my sleeping quilt is soaked. I have no idea where the water came from. There was no water in the tent. Anyway, that was a huge hit to my morale, because that is a game changer. If I cannot be safely warm when I get into the rack at night with the temperatures around freezing at night, yeah, I can't. It's not that I won't or I can't continue. Obviously, that shouldn't even be really a topic of discussion. It's simply not in my character to quit. It's just it's just not going to happen. I can feel like ass from now till eternity, and I'm going to continue to the hike. Usually, what happens, and my friends realize, and some of them have expressed this concern, is that when I'm truly miserable, I'm just going to double down. And that's what's precipitating these extended hikes that are ultimately not good for me, even exacerbating my situation. So anyway, so I didn't do water last night, which meant I had to do it this morning. Yesterday, when I pulled that same stunt, as you can all who have done this know and appreciate, the Smart water bottle is narrow and tall, which makes it inclined to be top heavy, and it obviously gets top heavy when you finally get clean water in it. And so then, unless you're standing over wet nursing it, it of course flips over and pours all the water back out on the ground. That happens at least twice a week. Likewise, while I actually like this platypus bladder that I have, that I'm using as my clean water bladder, it only has a hook on the, I don't know whether you want to call it the top side or the bottom side. The bag hangs inverted, as most do, hangs inverted, and that's the only spout to access the bladder, but the hanging system is on the other side. So that's great when you're got it in your bag and you're using it actually as a clean water reservoir, but when you're trying to fill it, you've got no way to keep it standing upright, because of course it's self-sided and it just wants to flop over, which again takes me back to Couch to Trails. Why you guys see that I actually built a little lanyard for carrying the water up from a water source. Why in God's name it didn't occur to me until this moment to have a lanyard supporting the hanging system, I don't know. But this is the kind of goofy shit that you do. You're suffering with something, but because you're stuck in the moment, you're not really thinking, you're not stepping back. So actually, doing this video, as I said, for me really, is helping me think through what it is that's making me so miserable, which FYI is also my poncho. Just to let you know, the Sea to Summit poncho is garbage. It's too light. The snaps constantly unpop. And frankly, it doesn't keep you, it actually keeps me warmer than it does dry. That I literally could have just used one of the extra contractor bags and been just as effective as this Sea to Summit. So yeah, today, you know, seriously, I'd take a dose of chemotherapy over what I'm feeling and experiencing right now. But this too shall pass. As I said, I really think it's funny, the mental game that this all plays with you. This is how funny it is and how comical it becomes. So I have a pair of DK mittens. And they have a fleece liner, you know, Thermalite or whatever it is, liner. And every time you pull your hand out of a fleece liner inside of a mitten, it of course inverts itself and comes out with it. Whoa, hold on a sec. I actually fell down a hill yesterday, so I'm a little cautious. Or slid down a hill, I should say. Anyway, so when I took them off last night, because they're the only part of my glove system that's actually waterproof, and like I said, the weather had changed. I obviously had pulled the thumbs, inverted the thumbs, and try to get your thumb back into that fleece insert in your, or liner, not insert, but liner in your mittens is literally comical genius. So of course I was fighting with that as I'm trying to get my legs underneath me. And I walk literally square into a widowmaker that's leaning across the trail. And because I have my wide brimmed hat not just on, but pulled down snug because of the rain that I was in, I literally ran smack dab into it. And it's just comical genius, these little compounded frustrations. But the things that really, like, seriously cause you concern or are really the key effects for my sort of mental state right now is A, the wet quilt. That's a safety issue. B, good God, would you look at this? I expect to be down there momentarily. Whoa. Yeah, this would be a lot easier if it were dry and sunny. That was sort of a joke. Okay, so the second thing is that I was telling you yesterday, I was sort of jazzed about the group I was with. They're doing too many miles for me. I can't go into this cycle where I'm behind the 8-ball all the time. I don't need to be moving that fast. And then the guy I couldn't remember his name yesterday, Nomad, he got everybody up this morning and took off and never said boo as far as their departure. I actually saw them departing because I was just getting out of my tent at the time, but they're actually hiking together. This isn't like, hey, we'll meet you each day at X shelter. They're actually hiking together. So that was a little bit of a, you're not part of the group. You were sort of an interloper. And again, everybody has to hike their own hike and form their own associations and groups. And while I do recognize that they're probably a little too fast for me to realistically keep up with them, I was thinking about going through extra pains and efforts just so I had people that I trusted and respected to go through the Smokies with. Because the other groups around me are not sort of speaking to me. And I don't mean literally, I mean they're not speaking to me. They're not my personality. There's a couple great guys out there. Maybe I can pull them together. Zia Fox is a good dude. He hikes about my deal, and he's just a steady guy. I mean, and then Brandon, who is now Eagle, because he was the Eagle Scout, is such a great guy. What a great kid that guy is, His parents really did a good job with him. And so if I could do it, even with just him, through the Smokies, where I had somebody to watch out for, and I had somebody to watch out for me, just in case, that would be a huge load off my mind. But as I wallow in my own misery at this moment, that's not, resolved. So I'm sure others have gone through this. I'm not sure that I see a lot of other vlogs that go into so much depth or detail about the sort of emotional roller coaster, but I sort of knew this going in. Okay, well, again, this is mostly for me to sort of work my way through this. I'm sure as I warm up and my legs, soften up some, and and I start putting miles in, you know, the day will get a lot better, and I'll forget this moment and the lessons learned as far as just working through it and thinking through it and coming up with solutions for yourself. And not letting these little things come back or compound into, you know, the sum being greater than the parts. So, moving on, heading towards cable tops, cable something shelter area, but it's going to be packed too. So last night, 17 in the shelter. Every tent site was full, and I had to sleep back up, go off the Blue Blaze back up onto the AT, and find a tent site on the AT. That sort of thing doesn't bother me. That's not contributing. The isolation at night is good for me. Okay, back at you.